Hey everybody, this is my first video from up in my room, so I hope you like my wall of quotes behind me. But anyway, the fantasy draft that I held was last night, and it went very well, very successful. A bunch of people from just around the site, and we also had Kevin representing DraftSharks.com helping, or participating in the league, rather. And it was a 16 round draft. The roster was one QB, two running backs, three wide receivers, one tight end, one flex running back slash receiver, one kicker, and one defense, and six bench. So that made up a 16 round draft. So what I'm going to do is, because I can't, throw all of the rounds into one video, I'm going to split it up. Since there were 16 rounds, I'm going to do 4 videos of 4 rounds each, and I'm going to go over every pick, just talk a second about the pick. Some I might go into a little more detail about, if depending on how I feel about the pick. So let's get started. Picking first overall. Actually, well, the teams don't really matter. You won't know that if you want to keep track. There was 12 teams, so I will give you the number of each pick. So if you want to keep track, you can do it like that. With the first pick, Arian Foster was taken. A lot of people are pretty no-brain on this. A lot of people say that, excuse me, that it's a pretty obvious choice. Um, I think it can be. The only thing that scares me a little bit with Foster is last year was obviously his rookie year, and or his first, full season rather, as a starter. And the problem with him first overall, and he by all means can have a great year, and he probably will. Um, Thankfully, I haven't had to pick first overall yet. I hate the first overall spot, but the problem with him going first overall is that, in my eyes, is that when you're going first overall, you cannot miss. In my opinion, that's the only spot in the draft that you cannot miss on your pick. So if you take Arian Foster first overall and he has that, sophomore slump again, sophomore being his first or his second, full starting year, that can really screw you with that first pick, because then again, you don't pick in a 12-man league, you don't pick for another 22 picks. So I feel like you really don't want to miss with that first pick. So again, thankfully I haven't had it, but if I had first, I would probably lean towards taking Adrian Peterson. That's just me. Second up, we had Kevin, the representative from DraftSharks.com, and he went with Adrian Peterson. Like I just said, I love Peterson. He's pretty, he's as consistent as you get at the running back position. You're not going to miss there, so that's a great pick. Third, we had Jamal Charles, your prototypical home run hitter. He's going to break off a lot of big carries. Think like Chris Johnson when he had his 2,000-yard season. Jamal Charles, probably isn't going to rack up that many yards, but he can break off that 70-yard run at any time. So that'll help, rack up the touchdowns. Also does a nice job receiving out of the backfield. Fourth, we had Ray Rice go. And this helped me. I like this pick because I have the 5th overall pick, which I'm not fond of, but that's where I landed. And I was torn between Ray Rice and Chris Johnson. Ray Rice still scares me because for some reason, he just does not get in the end zone a whole lot. He had a great year last year, but I believe he only had 5 touchdowns, and that scares me. And I know that they got rid of a few of the other guys. They had Sharon Carries back there, but then they went out and signed Ricky Williams. So Ray Rice really scared me this year. Trying to stay away from him. So when he went right before me, that really helped me. And then 5th overall, I took Chris Johnson. I know he's got his contract problems. I know it's up in the air whether or not he's going to play right now. He should. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be back for the start of the season, especially with how the new CBA is with losing pay. It's a lot of money for missing camp, but hopefully he comes back on time for me. I just feel like it was a pick I couldn't pass up at the 5th overall pick. Again, he's that home run hitter. He can break off a long touchdown run at any time. Does a great job receiving out of the backfield. And the thing I like most about Chris Johnson this year is that they went out and got Matt Hasselbeck, who's obviously on the back end of his career, but no longer will teams be able to stack 8, 9 defenders in the box like they were. Like, you think 9 defenders, that's crazy. At points in time last year when Rusty Smith was the quarterback for Tennessee, teams were putting 9 men in the box, and there was just absolutely nowhere for Chris Johnson to go, and he still had a good year. So now with Matt Hasselbeck starting, you got Kenny Britt uh, looking like he could have another very good year. Jared Cook looking like he could have a breakout season at tight end. I just feel like it's really going to open up the running game even more for Chris Johnson with what he's been doing with what he's had to work with. I feel like that's really going to help him. Sixth, Michael Vick was taken. Bit of a shocker there. I'm not big on that pick. The guy that took him ended up actually putting together a decent team, but I just don't like a quarterback that early. I've seen people stretch for quarterbacks in the third or fourth round, which, by the way, this is a non-PPR league. That's standard league. That's the type where you want running backs early. So when I say stretch for a quarterback in the third or fourth round, that's actually stretching for a guy like Manning or like Vick or like Brady, like Rodgers, because usually you want to wait on a quarterback in this type of league till at least the fifth round. Usually at the earliest, fourth at the absolute earliest, fifth at like the earliest. But he stretched all the way to the first round. I guess he's hoping Vic is going to do a lot of running again this year. Personally, I don't think Vic's going to do as much running. He looked last year, towards the end of the year, he was dropping it off to LaShawn McCoy a lot, which really raises McCoy's value. But I think it takes away from Vic's because he's actually being a little smarter with the ball. I think that was the reason for his, I guess you could say re-breakout year last year. It's because he was being smarter with the ball, not just taking off running after a second in the pocket or the tiniest bit of pressure like he used to. So I'm not a fan of that pick in the first round. Seventh, we had Michael Turner go. Again, Turner. I mean, that's there's not a. It's a very difficult choice at that spot in the draft because you got some good running backs left, and you want to make sure you get a good one. Turner obviously has been great. He just worries me a little this year. They beefed up their passing game by drafting Julio Jones. Matt Ryan's looking like he just continues to improve every year. Roddy White's obviously a monster. Turner, he's getting up there. I think he's 29 now. 30 is that hill for running backs. That's what you got to be careful of for some reason. They just all start going downhill around that age. But, it's a solid pick. Turner should have another good year. I've been staying away from him a little bit just because of the age. So, we'll see what happens. But overall, it's a solid pick. Eighth, we had Andre Johnson go. I was not a huge fan of this pick with the running backs that were left. Thought there was a couple running backs that should have been taken ahead of him, like McCoy, Mendenhall, McFadden, who actually went in the next three picks. But I mean, he's the best receiver you're going to get out there. Schaub loves throwing to him. Foster really brings defenders in the box to open up that passing game. The only problem is that they have a lot of targets now. They re-signed Jacoby Jones. Owen Daniels, if he's healthy, is a really good, top tier tight end. But again, it is Andre Johnson, so he's going to put up his 1,200 plus yards, 10 touchdowns. So, if you wanted to start with receiver, it's a good pick for it. I personally just would have went running back. LaShawn McCoy went next at the ninth pick. Again, I really like this pick. I think he's going to, even if he gets around this, I believe he had 1,080 rushing yards last year. Even if he gets around that same number, he catches a ton of balls out of the backfield. So that's, opportunity for yards and touchdowns through the air. So I really feel like McCoy is going to be a really, really good running back this year, a really good running back, one for your team. So I really do like that pick. If I had a pick down in that, end of the draft, that's probably who I would have went with. Rashard Mendenhall went at 10. Again, just another solid pick. Steelers love to run the ball. They love to pound it in the red zone. He does an okay job receiving out of the backfield. I like that pick. At 11, Darren McFadden went. If he can keep up like he did last year, obviously it's a really good pick. Just got to see if he can keep up what he was doing. Obviously, last year was his breakout year. He didn't do a whole lot before that, but we'll see if he can keep it up. Aaron Rodgers went at 12, and again, really, I love Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, my boy. I'm a big-time Packers fan. This is actually a Woodson jersey today. But I'm a big-time Packers fan. But I don't think you can pick a quarterback in the first round. I just don't see how you can do it. Fitzgerald went first in the second round, and obviously snake draft, so it's 1 through 12, then 12 back to 1, and then so forth. And so Fitzgerald went first in the second round. I like that pick. I think Cobb. Who knows what's going to happen with Cobb. He hasn't started too much. They like what he does. They like what he brings to the table. But Fitzgerald's one of the top three receivers in the league, along with, in my opinion, the Johnsons. But I think Cobb. I don't think there's any way you can, do worse than the combination of Arizona quarterbacks did last year. So I see Larry Fitzgerald having a good year. I've actually been taking him in a lot of my leagues. Roddy White went next. Again, another solid pick. He's been consistently great. Matt Ryan loves him. It's a good pick. Calvin Johnson went next. Um, Stafford, if he can stay healthy, has a good arm. They really like the offense in Detroit right now with all they got going on there. Calvin Johnson's a great receiver. It's a good pick. Frank Gore went next. For the running backs that were left, I like this pick. Um, you got to be a little careful with Gore's health, but he is a good back. He's going to do some good receiving out of the backfield, so there's possibility of touchdowns and obviously more yards that way. So that's a solid pick. And he combined that with let me see where he combined that with LaShawn McCoy from last round. So now he's got two top tier. He's really got two running back ones, and obviously two starters. So that really works well for him. I like that pick. Um, Next, Drew Brees went. Not a big fan of this pick. Just too early for a quarterback. There's so many guys, as I will point out later. There's so many guys that you can get later. You can really wait on a quarterback, fill out the rest of your team, and it'll look a lot better. Hakeem Nicks went next. The sixth pick in the second round. I really like this pick. I think Nicks is going to have a big year. Manning really loves him in the red zone. He gets a ton of red zone targets. He's got those big hands, really holds on to the ball well, so I really do like this pick. I could honestly see him putting up a year similar to what he did last year, maybe even a couple more touchdowns. He's really that dominant in the red zone. Maurice Jones-Drew went next. Again, he's consistently solid. He's a very good running back. Just again, like Gore, a little bit of a little bit of health problems. He's always banged up. He never misses a game. Rarely misses a game. I think last year he missed a couple, but he was really banged up last year. But he plays through pain, but he just tends to always be banged up. So he worries me a little. I usually stay away from him unless it's just an obvious pick to take him. You just got to worry about the health. I was next. I went with Vincent Jackson. I really like Vincent Jackson this year. He's fully healthy, no contract problems. He's a big, tall target, fast guy. Rivers loves him. Gates, gets covered in the middle of the field, really opens the outside for Jackson. I would highly recommend if you can get Jackson in a good spot where it's not too much of a reach. Don't go taking him, back end of the first round, early second round when there's still really good receivers available. Or not, obviously he's really good, like a top three, like a Fitzgerald or the Johnsons. I would go with them first. But as far as if you can get him in the back end of the second round, like I did, I would, after you get a running back one, I would really recommend looking at him. Brady went next. Again, same story. Great quarterback, not bad timing. It's too early for a quarterback here. Rivers went next. Same story. I love Rivers this year. I think he's gonna have a terrific year. He did last year. He's been consistent his whole career. He's a great quarterback. Just too early. Forte went next. That was Kevin, a representative from Draft Sharks. He went with Forte. I like this pick. As you'll hear me talking about later on in these videos. We actually had a lot of the same thoughts on players. We actually targeted a lot of the same guys. So you're gonna hear me say that I like his picks a lot because he was taking a lot of the guys I was looking at. But I like Forte this year. Mike Martz is really good at incorporating running backs into the offense, and I feel like he's going to have a good year, good solid year, especially in the back end of the second round. He's really going to live up to his worth for that pick. Sean Green went next, last pick of the second round. I like Sean Green. Jets love to run the ball, love to pound it. Tomlinson might, vulture some carries, take away a couple touchdowns, but I don't think it'll be enough to make a difference. He's a solid The guy that took him was the one that took Foster first overall. So as a